Christian Edgar, back with yet another exciting video. In today's video we are on site. Today I'm on site, and you can see behind me is the 5-bedroom mansion that we have been looking at. We have gone ahead and now we are on the finishing phase. But in today's video we are going to look at the quantity of materials, their costing and the amount of money that we used to buy the whole materials that we used to build the shell of this structure, right from the substructure to the roofing phase. Yes, so under this the substructure we have the foundation, and the foundation consists of the plinth wall and the ground floor slab. Then the superstructure will look at the block work, the first floor suspended slab, and the roofing phase. So I'd like you to stay tuned so that you can enjoy the video. Yes, by the way, this is a 5-bedroom house, and it also has a maid's room, so you can say it has 6 bedrooms. Yes, but it's a mansion, so I'd like you to stay tuned to the end. Thank you. So this is a 5-bedroom mansion, and it also has a maid's room, so we can say that it has 6 bedrooms, but it's a mansion, and it also has an elevator inside. It only has 2 floors, the ground floor and the first floor, but it has an elevator inside, and it also has a rooftop slab. Now the rooftop slab lies in between the building. Then on both sides of the building there is a pitched roof. We roofed it with a pitched roof using roofing tiles. So I would like you to stay tuned because we are going to break down all the materials that we used, right from the foundation, right from the substructure, which consists of the foundation of the structure and the ground floor slab. Then we have the superstructure where we are going to see the block work, the first floor suspended slab, and the roofing phase. So stay tuned and follow to the end. Thank you. So this is a material schedule, but now this one has the materials broken down on every phase to detail. Yes, it has all the materials broken down to detail on every phase. But going through this one we may spend quite a longer time. So what we decided to summarize the quote into 2 building phases that we go through while building a shell. So we summarized the materials into 2 phases, and then we had all the materials that were used under the substructure summarized, and also the superstructure to the roofing phase, so which makes up the shell of our structure. Now without wasting time, so let's see, this is the summary of our material schedule. So under the substructure, which includes the foundation pad footings, the starter columns, the plinth wall construction, ground and plinth beam, and the ground floor slab, we bought 12mm bars, and these bars were for reinforcing the pad footings that are below the starter columns before we cast them. So we bought 143 pieces, and each piece costs 45,000 shillings, and that costed us 6,444,000 shillings. Then we also bought binding wire. Binding wire was for tying the pad footings and also tying the starter columns. Remember, on those starter columns we usually put stair ups, which are commonly known as rings. So those rings are usually tied with binding wire. So we bought 7 rolls, and these rolls each cost 125,000 shillings, and that costed us 875,000 shillings. We also went ahead and bought 16mm bars. Now these 16mm bars were used to reinforce the starter columns. Yes, we bought 41 pieces, and each piece costed 75,000 shillings. And that costed us 3,054,500 shillings. We also bought 8mm bars. Now these 8mm bars are the ones that we usually tie as rings. We cut them and then make them rings, which we call stair ups, but the common term on site are rings. So we bought 189 pieces, and each piece costed us 22,000 shillings, and that costed us 4,149,300 shillings. We also bought 9x1 timber. Now this 9x1 timber was for making formwork, shuttering, for the ground beam, the plinth beam, the starter columns, all that. So all the formwork we bought, all the formwork in the substructure, we bought 138 pieces of timber, 9x1, and each piece was costing 8,000 shillings, and that costed us 1,106,200 shillings. I also bought 4x3 timber. Now this one was for joining, batting the 9x1 when we are joining it while making formwork. We bought 66 pieces, and each piece costs 5,000 shillings, and that cost us 332,000 shillings. Going ahead, we bought cement. Now this cement, we used it on all the substructure phases. This cement, we used it to cast the foundation pad footings, the starter columns, ground beam, plinth beam, and also the ground floor slab. So we bought 338 bags of cement. Now we bought 333 bags of cement. Yes, with the plinth wall construction, this cement also did the plinth wall construction. So we used some of the bags to mix the mortar that we used to build the plinth wall. Yeah, remember the plinth wall of this very building, we talked about it in my video. You can go check out on that video, the video of building the foundation of a 5-bedroom mansion. So you should check it out. It has more details about the plinth wall construction of this very house, this particular house, where we looked at that plinth wall and we saw the difference in the level of its heights on all sides. So you should go look out for that video. So we bought 338 bags of cement, and each bag costed 33,000 shillings, and that cost us 11,164,400 shillings. We bought lake sand. We also bought lake sand. Now this lake sand, we used it for mixing mortar for the plinth wall brickwork. Then we also used it for mixing concrete for casting the ground slab, the plinth beam, and the ground beam, plus the starter columns. So we bought 37 forward trips, and each trip costed 250,000 shillings. Now by then, when we were building this house, yeah, the forward trip was costing 250,000 shillings, but now it has risen a bit. It is on 280,000 shillings. Yeah, that roller sand. But so we bought 37 forward trips, and each trip costed us 250,000 shillings, and that costed us 9,154,300 shillings. We also bought aggregate. Aggregate was for mixing all concrete works that were in the substructure. The concrete works included the foundation pad footing casting, the starter columns casting, the plinth beam and the ground beam casting, and the ground floor slab. So we bought 33 forward trips, and each forward trip costed us 350,000 shillings, and that mounted to an amount of 11,519,400 shillings. We bought bricks. Bricks were for the plinth wall construction, and we bought 18,678 pieces. Each piece costed us 400 shillings because these are clay bricks, and that costed us 7,471,200 shillings. We bought upayan too. Upayan, we usually place it after 3 courses of our brickwork, so that in case there is any crack that merges through the wall due to the uneven settlement, those cracks don't extend to the walls above. So upayan is also important. So if you watch that video of building the foundation of a 5-bedroom mansion, you will see all this that I explained about this upayan. So we bought 10 rolls, and each roll was costing 43,000 shillings, and that costed us 430,000 shillings. We bought maram too. Maram was for backfilling that hollow space that is in between the plinth wall. We bought 24 trips, and each trip costed us 200,000 shillings. We had also some maram on site. Yes. So that costed us 4 million shillings. We also bought hardcore. Hardcore was for to strengthen the foundation of the building more, and we bought 18 forward trips. Each trip costed us 250,000 shillings, and that costed us 4.5 million shillings. Going ahead, we also bought DPM. Now DPM, we usually place it on top of the sun blinding. Right after the sun blinding, after the hardcore layer, we usually place a layer of DPM. Now this DPM is also important because it will cut off that moisture capillarity that will be rising to the ground
to the floor of your house. Yes, so it is important that it is usually placed so that you avoid that structural dampness in your house floor. So we bought 311 linear meters. Each linear meter costed us 2,500 shillings, and that cost us 778,200 shillings. BRC, we also bought BRC. Now BRC, yes, it is also important because you won't have cracks affect the floor of your house if you place BRC. Yes, it is so important that you place BRC in the foundation of your house. Yes, so we bought 3 rolls. Each roll costed us 700,000 shillings, and that costed us 2,269,800 shillings. Yes, now the subtotal for all the substructure materials that we used to build the substructure mounted to 67,248,700 shillings. Yes, that enabled us buy all the materials that we used under the foundation of this very structure. Yes, that's the bill. Alright, so heading to the superstructure. Now under our superstructure we have the ground floor, the first floor, and the roofing phase. Yes, because we are only looking at the shell of this very structure now. The shell comes from the foundation to the roofing phase. Now under our superstructure we bought 16mm bars. These ones were used for reinforcing the first floor and ground floor columns. We bought 81 pieces. Each piece costed us 75,000 shillings, and that was 6,109,000. Now we also bought 8mm bars. Now these 8mm bars, they provide lateral strength to the column. Yes, the column is strengthened more so that it doesn't buckle. So here, yeah, that's why they are so important. It's not a good thing that you overspace these rings. Yes, you should not space them beyond 0.12 meters. Yes, at least you should give them a spacing that doesn't exceed 0.12 meters. Yes, so we bought 136 pieces. Each piece costed us 22,000 shillings, and that costed us 2,986,600 shillings. We also bought 12mm bars. Now these 12mm bars, these ones, we use them to reinforce the first floor ring beam. And we bought 139 pieces. Each piece costed us 45,000 shillings, and that costed us 6,264,000 shillings. We bought 7mm bars. 7mm bars, these ones we used them to make rings that were in the first floor ring beam. Yes, we used them to make rings that were in the first floor ring beam. We bought 211 pieces, and each piece costed us 13,000 shillings, and that costed us 2,741,800 shillings. Hollow blocks, we bought hollow blocks. These hollow blocks, we used them for block work. We used it for block work, both for the ground floor and the first floor. We bought 10,309 pieces. Each piece costed us 3,000 shillings, and that costed us 30,927,600 shillings. Hoop iron, we bought 9 rolls. Each roll costed 43,000 shillings, and that costed us 387,000 shillings. We also bought DPC. This DPC we bought 514 linear meters. Each linear meter costed us 2,500 shillings, and that costed us 1,285,000 shillings. Now this DPC is for both the ground floor and the first floor, because after casting the ground floor slab, we always place a layer of DPC on top of the already cast slab before we start the block work. This DPC protects the wall from structural dampness. Yes, then that applies also on the first floor. Before we start the block work, after casting the suspended first floor slab, we always place a layer of DPC on top, then we start the block work on top. Yes. Going ahead, still under our superstructure, we bought cement. Now this cement, we used it to mix mortar for building We used it for mixing mortar for building the block work both for the ground floor and the first floor, and also mixing concrete for casting the ground floor and the first floor columns. We bought 340 bags of cement. Now each bag costed 33,000 shillings, and that costed us 11,212,000 shillings. We bought Lexan. Lexan was for mixing mortar for building block work for both for the ground floor walls and the first floor walls, and also mixing concrete for casting the ground floor and first floor columns. We bought 40 forward trips, and each trip costed us 250,000 shillings, and that costed us 9,938,200 shillings. We also bought aggregate. Aggregate was for mixing concrete that we used to cast the ground floor and first floor columns, and we bought 55 forward trips. Each forward trip costed us 350,000 shillings. This is machine crushed aggregate, and that cost 19,099,500 shillings. The subtotal for the superstructure minus the first floor suspended slab and the roofing phase costed us 90,950,900 shillings. Still under our superstructure, we went ahead to the first floor suspended slab. Now these materials that are here include the first floor suspended slab and also the rooftop solid slab. So we bought 16mm bars. These 16mm bars were used to reinforce the first floor slab, the drop beams, and the first floor slab, the drop beams, the slab beams. So we bought 75 pieces, and each piece costed us 75,000 shillings, and that costed us 5,659,000 shillings. I also bought 12mm bars. 12mm bars, these ones were also used to reinforce the first floor slab. We usually place 2 pieces every between 2 mark spans, which we call ribs. We bought 236 pieces, and each piece costed us 45,000 shillings, and that costed us 10,597,500 shillings. Still under our superstructure, we bought 8mm bars. 8mm bars, these ones were for making stair ups both for the drop beams and the slab beams. Yes, we bought 101 pieces. Each piece costed 22,000 shillings, and that costed us 2,213,300 shillings. I also bought 9x1 timber. Now 9x1 timber was to allow us to do the formwork and shuttering both for the drop beams, the slab beams, and the suspended floor slab. Yes, we bought 622 pieces. Each piece costed us 8,000 shillings, and that costed us 4,976,000 shillings. Still under our superstructure, we bought 4x3 timber. Now this 4x3 timber, usually we use it for joining these 9x1s while making formwork. So we bought 518 pieces, and each piece costed us 5,000 shillings, and that costed us 2,591,600 shillings. Still under our superstructure, we bought poles. Now these poles were used to support that first floor suspended slab. We usually place them beneath the first floor suspended slab to support that suspended slab for a period not less than 21 days. Yes, so we bought 1,244 pieces, and each piece costed us 3,000 shillings, and that costed us 3,732,000 shillings. We bought BRC also. We bought 3 rolls of BRC, and each roll costed us 700,000 shillings, and that cost us 2,267,700 shillings. We also bought binding wire. Binding wire, we only bought 7 rolls. Each roll costed us 125,000 shillings, and that cost us 875,000 shillings. Hollow mark spans. Hollow mark span, we bought 2,529 pieces. Each piece was 3,000 shillings, and that cost us 7,587,000 shillings. Cement. Now this cement we used it to mix concrete for slab beams, drop beams too. We bought 357 bags of cement. Each bag of cement costed us 33,000 shillings, and that costed us 11,781,000 shillings. I also bought lake sand. Now lake sand was for mixing concrete so that we achieve the right grade of concrete for casting the drop beams, slab beams, and the first floor suspended slab. We bought 21 forward trips. Each trip costed us 250,000 shillings, and that costed us 5,307,800 shillings. I also bought aggregate. Aggregate was also for mixing concrete that we used to cast this slab. That we used to cast this first floor suspended slab. We bought 32 forward trips. Each forward trip costed us 350,000 shillings, and that costed us 11,146,500 shillings. We also bought 25mm conduits. Now these ones we usually place them in the first floor suspended slab before we cast it. These ones, this where we usually place them so that we make provision for passage of those electric wires when the electrical engineer is wiring the building. Yes. So we bought 60 pieces. Each piece is 7,000 shillings, and that costed us 420,000 shillings. We bought 25mm circular boxes. These ones are the ones we usually place so that we make provision for where the bulb is going to be. Yes, so we bought 50 pieces. Each piece is 3,000 shillings, and that costed us 150,000 shillings. Gintex solvent. This one is for joining these conduit pipes that we usually place in the first floor suspended slab and the walls. We bought 10 tins, and each tin is 50,000 shillings, and that costed us 500,000 shillings. We also bought 32mm conduits. 32mm conduits, these are where the wires, electrical wires, pass. We bought 40 pieces. Each piece is at 3,500 shillings, and that costed us 140,000 shillings. We bought PVC pipes. Now these PVC pipes for 4-inch, these are drainage pipes for all the wastewater. These are waste drainage pipes. We bought 6 pieces. Each piece costed us 50,000 shillings, and that's costed us 300,000 shillings. Also bought PVC 2-inch drainage pipes, and we bought 12 pieces. Each piece costed us 20,000 shillings, and that costed us 240,000 shillings. Now the subtotal for our first floor suspended slab and the rooftop slab costed us 70,484,600 shillings. Under our roofing, remember I talked about this roofing phase. I have a video where I talked more about this particular roof of this 5-bedroom mansion, so you should go check out for that video. That is the cost of roofing a 5-bedroom mansion with clay roofing tiles. So here I broke down everything, and I broke down all the materials that we used under the roofing phase of this particular house, and I explained more why we used that material and what is the importance of all the material. But just to have a quick review, I bought common rafters. Common rafters we bought 166 pieces. Each piece costed us 5,000 shillings, and that costed us 830,000 shillings. We bought palings. Palings we bought 166 pieces. We bought tie beams too, 202 pieces. We bought ridges. Ridges we bought 360 pieces. We bought wall plate. Wall plate timber. These are 4x3s. We bought 116 pieces. We bought buttons. Buttons we bought 246 pieces. We bought plain sheets. Plain sheets we bought 15 rows. We bought also roofing tiles. Roofing tiles we bought 9,986 pieces, and also bought fascia boards. Fascia boards, here I remember I talked about this PVC fascia boards because this is what we used. We bought 19 pieces. We bought gutters too. Gutters we bought 34 pieces. We bought nails of 4-inch, 3-inch, 170 kgs. We bought 4x2 timber. This one was for the ceiling. We bought 221 pieces. We bought expanded lathing metal, 17 bundles. Cement we bought 55 bags. This one was for mixing mortar that we used to cast the ceiling. Also bought lake sand, plaster sand, 3 forward trips of lake sand and 1 forward trip of plaster sand. So you should go check out for that video because I talked about all these materials and how we use them and what was the importance of all these materials. You should check out for that video of cost of roofing a 5-bedroom mansion on my channel. Thank you. So under our elevator, because remember this particular house has an elevator, of course it has 2 floors, the ground floor and the first floor, but it has an elevator inside. Now this elevator, we bought 12mm bars to reinforce those solid walls around the elevator. We bought 73 pieces. Each piece costed us 43,000 shillings, and that costed us 3,127,200 shillings. We also bought cement. We bought 96 bags. Each bag costed us 33,000 shillings, and that costed us 3,168,000 shillings. We also bought lake sand. We bought 3 forward trips. Each forward trip costed us 250,000 shillings, and that costed us 857,100 shillings. We bought coarse aggregate. This is machine crushed aggregate. We bought 8 forward trips, and each forward trip costed us 350,000 shillings, and that costed us 2,921,700 shillings. The grand total for the shell of this 5-bedroom mansion, which has 6 bedrooms if you add the maid room, costed 288,364,800 shillings. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit the subscription button, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you very much for always coming back to the videos. I remain Christian Edgar. God bless you. Keep living in an atmosphere of miracles. God bless you.